gums at each other any chance they get. The fight clock is brought to you by McGregor.
It's time
for you to sit back, relax, and listen to a complete and fucking utter armchair expert give his completely and utterly useless opinions on the one hell of an amazing sport that is MMA.
G'day, guys. So we are finally up to the second pay-per-view event of the year. By the way, apologies if you all you can hear is wind and things banging. For whatever reason, it is blowing a gale outside. So yeah, I don't know. But I guess we'll just get into the UFC 311 recap. So, pretty simple, really. It wasn't a overly stacked card. Yuri Prohaska probably won his way back to the title at light heavyweight. Got a TKO at 3 minutes of the first round against Jamal Hill. Merab Divashvili defended his bantamweight title against Umar Nurmagomedov, which was a bit of a shock. He was undefeated, so I thought he may come out victorious. And then Islam Makhachev, whose opponent pulled out on him pretty soon before the event started, won pretty easily by submission at 4 minutes of the first round against Renato Moicano. And yeah, it was pretty straightforward in that respect. Yeah, so that was UFC 311. And when I come back, we will get into all things UFC 312 and a few other things. All that and more when I come back. So, UFC 312 from the Qudos Bank Arena in the beautiful land down under, Sydney, Australia. UFC is back down under, although not in Melbourne, unfortunately. As always, we've got the UFC website up, looking at the cards, or looking at who's. So let's have a look, eh? Who is on the card? So we've got a couple of Australian fighters. Jake Matthews is finally on the main card on an Australian card. Jimmy Crute's on the card. Justin Tafa's on the card. But other than that, it's kind of underwhelming, to be honest. Volk is going to be walking one of his teammates out. But, yeah, it's, you know, much as I am keen to see this, and of course I am keen for the DDP and Strickland rematch, you know, these two fights, Zhang Weili and Tatiana Suarez, or whatever her name is, and DDP and Strickland, you know, could have been easily put on a Vegas card, you know. Yeah, so, yeah, I just always like it when, you know, when they stack the Aussie cards with Aussie fighters. But anyway, let's get into the favourites and whatnot, as always, on this main card. So, Jake Matthews is the favourite in his welterweight bout against Francisco Prado. They don't have rankings. Neither of them are ranked by the look of it. So, surprisingly, the Brazilian Rodolfo Bellato is the favourite against Jimmy Crute, and another Brazilian who's fighting Justin Tafa is also the favourite leading up to it, which is strange. Teixeira Taliesin Teixeira. Ooh, wonder if he's a relation to Glover Teixeira. But now, of course, we get into the business end of the evening for the women's strawweight title. Surprisingly, Tatiana, the number one ranked strawweight contender, is the favourite against Zhang Weili. That is a surprise. Definitely keen for that one, though. I'll definitely be watching that. But, of course, the main event of the evening, the rematch we've been waiting for a year, and it has literally been a year now, because their last fight was in January last year at UFC 297 for the middleweight division title, Dricus du Plessis versus Sean Strickland. Unsurprisingly, Dricus is the favourite. I normally don't like getting into, who I think might win and all that sort of stuff, because I've predicted it and been wrong before. So I kind of like to just talk about the fights and how keen I am for him. But this one, I don't know. I still think Sean won the last one, and he, on all balance of probabilities, probably should have, given he was the champion and it was so close. But Dricus came out and said at the press conference, or I don't know where he said it, I'm pretty sure it was at the press conference, that he doesn't want there to be a decision. He's coming for a knockout or a submission or whatever, a stoppage. And I want it to be Sean. I really do want Sean to win. But Dricus, man, I don't know. He's going to be hard to beat. He's going to be really fucking hard to beat, because he is good. I got to give it to him. He's very good. Yeah, I don't know. Does Dricus take the belt again? If he does, I don't see anyone beating him. I really don't. Anyone else in the middleweight division? I don't. I mean, of course, there is some rising up and comers, and I'll probably talk about one of them in the segment after this. But yeah, he is going to be, if he does take the belt, he's going to be really hard to beat. Hamzat is, I think, next in line. Dana did come out and say that. So it'll be him versus Hamzat. If he does win, or whoever wins, it'll be him and Hamzat. That'll be an interesting fight. That'll be a really interesting fight. Dricus versus Hamzat. Sean's shaved his head completely and he's growing a mustache. It's a very interesting look. I don't know if he's going for it deliberately or what, but yeah, he's definitely looking hella different in this fight. But anyway, guys, that was UFC 312 coming back down to land down under. The next one better be in Melbourne, I'm telling you, because Perth and Sydney have had it they've been here 4 times, and Perth and Sydney have had it each time, or had it twice each. So I really hope the next one is in Melbourne. But anyway, guys, that was pretty much it for UFC 312. And when I come back, I want to talk about Izzy losing, Conor McGregor a little bit, probably also Jake and or Logan Paul, and possibly a few other things. I don't know. Kind of went into this podcast a bit unprepared. But anyway, guys, as always, all that and more when I come back. We're losing our legends, much as I hate to say it. Izzy fought in Saudi Arabia, I think, last weekend. And he lost by TKO 30 seconds into the second round by an up-and-coming Russian fighter Nassourdine Imavov. You know, he lost to Strickland. He lost to DDP. And, yeah, it's kind of sad, you know. Bam Bam's on a skid. Volk's on a skid. You know, when me and my mate started watching UFC, they were the legends. They were the top guys. And now we're losing them. You know, Kamaru Usman, no one knows when he'll be back. Even Leon Edwards has since lost. You know, Sugar Sean's lost. Yeah, we're seeing the changing of the guard, I think. Probably a bit quicker than I'd have liked. And it's a bit sad, man. Yeah. So that probably cancels Izzy out for a run back to the title. I mean, he probably can get back there, but, you know, has he lost a step since the Strickland fight? I don't know, because he looked good against Plessis until that submission happened. So I don't know. I don't know if his confidence has been rocked, or I don't know. But when you're getting beaten by an up-and-comer, not even a champion, or contender, I guess. Well, at least I don't think he's a contender. I don't know if he is or not, but I don't really know enough about him. But yeah, when you're getting beaten by the likes of those sort of guys, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's a good sign or not. I don't think it is. But yeah, it's sad, man. The guys, me and my mate started watching. They're kind of falling out, I guess. I don't know, man. But we'll just probably finish this podcast off because I can't really think to talk about anything else with Conor McGregor. The rumoured Logan Paul fight is off. The UFC said, no, we're not doing that. So what does that mean for Conor? I don't know. I don't know when or if he'll be fighting. And yeah, I don't know. There was also a lot of talk that, this is probably a bit off topic, that Jake Paul, Logan's brother obviously, could be fighting Canelo Alvarez. That has now apparently since been quashed, seeing as Canelo Alvarez is going to be fighting Terence Crawford in September. But what a crazy time for fighting. You know, the UFC's changing, or the guard in the UFC's changing. You know, the boxing is crazy even. It's a lot different to where it was even 2 years ago, which is mental, really, to think about. But we'll probably just end it off with all of that, guys, and that is UFC 312, back in the land down under, which I'm glad about, and I'm keen for the Strickland DDP rematch. Would have liked it to have been a bit more eventful, but anyway. Hope yous enjoy it, guys. Until next time, catches.